play the Vikings. I don't want to come on here and say I'm not at all worried, because I was not at all worried about winning against the Browns. Although I was prepared for the Browns defense to be a huge challenge for the 49ers, but I just thought with how poorly their offense is, and I think that that's important for fans to remember when we're talking about, okay, we didn't have Debo, we didn't have Christian McCaffrey. The Browns were on their third string quarterback, missing Nick Chubb. Can you name, like, their offensive weapons are not thrilling. So I do think that's a bit disingenuous to be like, well, the Niners were missing their guys. The Browns were also missing their guys, and they were able to get to 19 points.
Mm-hmm.
But moving forward, speaking of missing people and injuries and people holding out, Justin Jefferson is on IR, so he's not going to be there. How do you feel about going against this Vikings team next Monday or on Monday?
So easy. I'm feeling what you felt against the Browns, but for this game, which I didn't feel that way. I knew that was going to be a gutted out, tough game for the Browns. This one,
I know. I messaged you during it, and you were like, "Oh, I like this was before the loss." But when it was
going to be a gritted one, and the Browns one, the key was going to be the defense, and they did their thing. They had 2 turnovers. They put them in scoring position. One of them they capitalized with a touchdown. The other one, Jake Moody missed a 54-yard field goal, and then the third one should have been a sack fumble, but apparently the ref said no. But I digress. This one, there's nothing really to fear too much from the Vikings offensively. Like, their best weapon is Jordan Addison now, KJ Osborne, it's TJ Hawkinson really, but you put Fred around him, Fred's going to be able to like clamp him up. I think it's going to be a long day for the Vikings. I think the 49ers after losing are going to be pissed off. They're going to come out. They should get back to their 30-point scoring ways, or just about. And I don't see how the Vikings put up more than 17 points on the 49ers. I really don't. Running the ball is not the strong suit. The 3 games I watched the Vikings this year, their blocking has looked bad. It looked pretty much like the 49ers. That's the one thing about the offensive line. People wanted to talk about the pressure they were allowing. No, it was the run blocking that was really getting blown up against the Browns. That's why McCaffrey was so inefficient. That's not going to be the case against the Vikings. They don't have too many disruptors. I know Danielle Hunter's there and such, but it's like, what can one man do versus like a huge formation? I guess at that point, the only way it's going to hold them back is who's going to play for the 49ers. Is Trent Williams playing? Is Deebo Samuel playing? Is Christian McCaffrey playing? And even without those 3, I think they should still win fairly easily.
Even without Trent?
Even without Trent, I don't think I don't think they'll be able to score like a 30, and I don't think it will be like a sound, convincing victory. But I say fairly easily, like it'd probably be like a 23-14 outing or 23-17 outing, like a 1-score win or something like that. Because ultimately the defense is still intact. No one's missing from that defense. They're still amazing. And Kirk, throughout his years against the 49ers, has looked abysmal. So I'm expecting that fully to be put on display. And Kirk is 2-10 in Monday Night Football or something like that?
Yeah, not good. Not good.
Kirk, the bright lights go, and he's scary. He's like a roach.
Do you think, just to feed some drama narratives, do you think that if Purdy can, like, we were kind of talking about who do we blame for the loss, do you think if Kyle Shanahan maybe could be side-eyeing Purdy right now and being like, you're only good when I'm kind of giving you the answer to the test, and when you have to kind of make something on your own, you look a lot more human and a lot more better. Could he, if Purdy continues to look ordinary, if let's say Christian McCaffrey, Debo, Trent, they're all out for 2 games, if he continues to look kind of ordinary, maybe floats back to earth a little bit, are there going to be any heating up rumors about Kyle calling his old love back?
Hell yeah, there is.
Like, he's going to see Kirk today. When you haven't seen your ex in a while, and then you run into them at like a high school reunion and start reminiscing on all the times that you had. Is that going to be them on
Kirk's going to run into him in the post-game tunnel and be like, I could throw better than that, right? And he's going to be like, well, Kirk, the things I do with you in my offense. No,
but yeah, so you don't see a Kyle side-eyeing Purdy and looking for maybe his backup Steve Young, or for
to bring it up that
sending little love letters to Kirk Cousins.
When I was with Grant last Friday, it's funny you bring that up, that how he mentioned about like Shannon Sharp's system quarterback, and he was speculating like, I wonder if he got that from Mike Shanahan, and Mike Shanahan didn't get that from Kyle. And I pushed back on that in a sense, like, I don't think Mike's necessarily getting it from his son, because how much time is Kyle really going to talk to his dad throughout the week in terms of like,
doesn't Mike have like,
I mean, in terms of like discussing his players, I think they're more so talking about like, dad, some help in terms like that. But like in terms of like gossiping like that, I think Mike, in terms of he kind of is speaking for his son, is like, I understand that's my system in a way that it's similar, and so he's feeding him that. So in that sense, like it's like wondering, like I think Mike thinks that like, hey, it's my son's system because no, duh, that's my son. Of course,
Yeah.
I'm like Brock
Trying
Purdy's
to
riding the
stand up more
coattails.
for like his son versus.
I don't think it's true so much that Brock is just pretty much like a robot. Yeah, he is like a robot, but I've already seen enough instances where he's not just a one read guy. When he's there, he frolics and panics. You know, there's
I
been too many
agree.
instances, and he does with his own ability of just like scrambling or just shooting deep, or even if it's not there, he knows how to reset and find another guy. So he's definitely more than that. But yeah, if he looks poor in this game, that's when the love lust is really going to start to fall down more. That's why, again, like back to the beginning, is like, all right, let's see how he bounces back, because that was a poor game. He played a big role in the loss. Now you're facing a defense that's a middling the pack defense that's nowhere near the same caliber as the Browns. Yes, you'll be without probably a weapon or two, and maybe even your security blanket at offensive line, but you still should be able to go out there and excel and look good. That's going to be the real point of like, all right, is he really just a proponent of, I have a bunch of weapons that make me look good? Which, of course, if you, I guess is going to be the point where everyone makes, right, last week, like, oh, if you take away this player, he looks average. And it's like, I guess people are going to get their wishes correct that they were saying last
Yeah,
week.
try to see.
If you take Debo McCaffrey away, well, we might just see that. But then again, it's like, what do most elite quarterbacks look like? If you, what would Justin Herbert look like if he took Keenan Allen away and Austin Eckler? I mean, shit, he had those players last night and he wasn't looking great at all. So it's just, yeah, I just really want to know what he looks like bouncing back from that game and without him.
I know you think that they're going to utilize Christian McCaffrey if it's only like a pain tolerance thing, but I would be really interested to see. I kind of want them to be out, but instead of it being in game, since Kyle struggled a little bit with like utilizing his other players, give him an entire week to kind of scheme up plays for IU, especially against the Vikings. Their secondary is not going to be nearly as good. Did this game, this is another side note, but did this game make you side-eye Ayuk a little bit against the Browns? He wasn't able to, he was clamped down a couple times and missed a couple of big plays. He also made the we gave Purdy credit for bouncing back at the very end. Ayuk also did that. Without Ayuk, they don't get in position for Jake Moody to fuck it up at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. No, I think Ayuk was just pretty much the deep one that he could have caught and most likely walks in to the end zone. So they had two practically walk-in end zone plays that they failed on. And with Ayuk dropping that one, and then with Purdy overthrowing McCaffrey drifting down the sideline on that fade route, because there was no one left of him or in front of him, I think he would have walked into that end zone too, or sprinted in, I guess. So no, it didn't really side on me just for that one drop. I know it looks like he dropped a bunch of times, but he pretty much was doing a lot of acrobatic stuff. I thought he dropped more times, but on some clips that I saw,
PFF only gave him one drop, which is crazy. I thought
it was the deep one. It's because the other ones, like the second one I thought he dropped was one where he had to lean out. I thought he had both hands on it. He barely got one hand on it when the ball was like this. I was like, oh, I thought that I was crediting him for that drop. So I think the only drop was the deep one we all saw, which lets me, that if PFF is backing up that, then I'm also thinking, okay, then it really was like a lot of inaccuracy issues from Purdy. Maybe it was because they had to make more, thread the needle throws that were more pressurized. So this one, it should be fine. I mean, I don't recall Brian Flores likes to call a lot of man. I feel like he does, but I could be wrong. But either way, they don't have necessarily the talent to do that, and it should be fine.
I agree. I think that we're going to see a bounce back game from Brock Purdy. Just for story narratives, I think it would be fun if Purdy struggled and Kirk just went off, because that would just be a great week of just.
That would be, because it's already going to get started. Starting tomorrow, people are going to talk about it, or Thursday.
Yeah, and Kyle and Kirk could hug at the end, the little pat on the back.
There's going to be a million of those pictures and clips from Monday Night Football throughout the game. Like, oh, back in 2013, Kyle and Kirk Cousins. Like, Jesus, it's just like every time when the Niners play the Packers with Aaron Rodgers. Like, did you know that Aaron Rodgers grew up a 49ers fan? I didn't know that. I needed to be told 30 times that for it to get drilled into my head. Maybe if you do it 31 more times, I'll remember for sure.
Exactly. Same thing whenever they play where was it? Where it was like, I think it was when they were all in the playoffs, where it was McVay, Kyle, LaFleur, and they always show the picture of them in Washington. But I agree. I think that this game will be a get right game for them. I want to go through the comments really quick because this guy said Purdy's definitely elite. He doesn't kick field goals, so when we were asking who does he blame, he blames Jake Moody. I think Jose and I maybe hopefully laid out a good argument that it was just a total team collapse. But yes, if Jake Moody makes 2 of 3 of his field goals, it is a different story.
Yeah,
However,
Purdy doesn't kick
if
field goals,
Purdy
but he
makes
throws
if Purdy
touchdowns.
makes the wide open throw to Christian McCaffrey, then it doesn't matter if Jake Moody misses
Purdy doesn't
all
kick
of his
field goals,
chance.
but he throws touchdowns, which he had one on the money could have had one on the money to McCaffrey, but he missed. So he's not elite by any stretch of the imagination. We're just crowning elite players after like 10 starts now. Come on.
Okay, and then this guy, I am not going to try to pronounce that, said the loss against the Browns really shook them. The vibe was horrible after the loss. The 49ers will lose the following 3 games and end up with a contender.
Jeez.
So you're not feeling well. I didn't feel like the vibe was that bad. Fred Warner came out, and Fred Warner and Nick Bosa had similar statements kind of saying that they didn't deserve to win. They could have won in the end, but they didn't deserve. They were outplayed, but that they were going to learn from this. I think the entire team, Kyle Shanahan, kind of talked about them potentially needing some adversity. Maybe they needed a little bit of a wake up call. I think they were feeling pretty high on themselves. I think that this could potentially be an excellent loss. I kind of assumed that the Eagles might be a loss. And if instead they can learn from this loss and go in and win against that Eagles team, I mean, it's way better to lose to an AFC team than to an NFC
Yeah.
team. Obviously, still have to face the Eagles, the Seahawks, everything. But I think, if you want to be more glass half full about it, you could say it was a horrible loss, but luckily, it's not going to affect them in the standings too much. Seahawks lost, Eagles lost. It's an AFC team.
And it
They
took
can
everything
definitely
going wrong for them to lose.
Yeah, they can definitely bounce back. I think injuries would be the most important thing that could really affect their season long term. But from everything we're hearing for everyone, even if they hold them out just for healing purposes, it's a pain tolerance thing. It's not like Jose over here who can't walk yet. No ACLs yet. Knock on so much
I
wood.
find this comment funny. It's like it really shook the team. If this, you mean to tell me this loss to the Browns in Week 6 is going to shock the team, but not the 2019 Super Bowl, not the 2021 NFC Championship loss, and not the Eagles loss from 10 months ago. This is the one that shakes them finally. Come on,
Yeah. So,
come on. Losses
yeah.
happen.
So losses happen. It'll be okay.